Hi, it's like 5 a.m. and I feel like this is the time I just need to make this video. um, so I've been making videos now for a little while, and before I started making videos, I used to try and keep the sides from fighting, because I hear people thinking that our country's so divided. It's so divided. It's always been divided. Whatever is coming to the surface and people are speaking now, they've felt this since I was a little kid. My family were politically opposite, and I used to, be able to feel that when one side was talking, the other side was sitting there thinking about what they were going to say. And they would both sides would try and change the other side. And it doesn't happen. Everybody just sits there and thinks about what they're going to say. And, as a little kid, I would watch them, and I loved my family, and I still love my family. But I thought that was so stupid. I just thought, and I'm not talking about recent, I'm talking about 70s, 80s, 90s. And in the 80s, I stood up at the dinner table. It was a Thanksgiving, and I said, "You're all idiots, and this is why I choose to work." Whatever you're seeing as far as division has been here, and the elephant and the blind men parable is that a whole bunch of blind men touching an elephant and then fighting about what they feel. Someone touching the tusks is going to have a completely different experience than someone holding the tail. And you can't know what you have unless you listen to all of the men, all of the blind people touching the same elephant to put the whole picture together. So I listened to all these different YouTube people, all these different people. And those are the other blind people touching the same elephant that I am. I mean, I'm lucky that I have an intuitive abilities, maybe beyond what anybody else has. So I've just always kept my mouth shut, because what was the point of talking? Everybody's just touching their elephant. They're touching the same elephant, and they're fighting over what they're seeing, and they're so sure. They're so sure that they're right. That is the problem. That's the problem. So, I just go about my day. I go about my business. I do my work, helping people choose empowerment, making it as easy as possible to choose empowerment over victimhood if they want. I was frustrated for the longest time by conservatives versus liberals, and and they all want the same thing. They just disagree on how to get there. I've been saying it forever. I used to try and stop people from fighting, and I'd learned the same lesson. You cannot stop people from fighting. They want to fight, they're going to fight. So I started just assisting people and leaving the fight, bless, forgive, respect the free will choice, and love all the people fighting, and that's fine. People take it in to a certain degree, and I remember after Trump was elected, I was trying to talk to my friend, and I was talking about hatred, and she thought I was talking about Trump. And I was like, wow, I can't even describe my part of the elephant without people just reacting. They are not hearing what I'm saying if I talk, if I just say whatever I want to say. So my voice went back into hiding to a certain degree, and I do what I can do. And then something big happened. And I mean, I'm talking, and then, you know, I took my son in 2017 to, he was 8 or 9, to a Roger Waters show. And Roger Waters from Pink Floyd, who I met in like the 80s, I loved him. I still love his music, his old music, but now it's so tainted with hatred that I sold my album that he signed for nothing. Like, I gave away my records practically. And I mean, everything is, people don't know what they're doing. They don't realize. I used to say, okay, you can hate Trump, you know, if you want. You can hate Trump if you want. But don't hate his supporters, right? I used to say that. And now I'm saying something different because it's got to stop. It really has to stop. I checked in with, so I don't watch television, but I do check in from time to time to see what's happening. Not, you know, I don't watch a whole show, but the women on The View are poison. That show is poison, and I mean all of them. Like, it is, it's poison, and it's hateful. And you know, it's not just them. That just happens to be the one that I just saw most recently that woke me up out of bed. So I think I should tell whoever watches these videos, I think I should tell you what happened to me. I feel like I'm keeping this. I have all these videos I want to make. I went to a yoga class. My friend is a brand new yoga teacher, and she is delightful. This lady is amazing. I love her. You know who you are. So she had a practice class. So I went and showed support. I haven't been to a yoga class. You know, I hadn't been to a yoga class since Trump got elected too, because all these yoga people think they're so loving, and then I can feel it, and they just, like, after a 2-hour, what is that, yoga class, or it's like the breathing. It's an intense class, and I loved it. This lady just starts up with the I hate Trump machine, and I'm like, we just worked our asses off for 2 hours for all this peace, and she just can't. And then, you know, she's gonna go get a green drink, and she's gonna, you know, she just spewed all this hatred, thinking that she's such a loving person. And I have to say something now. So that happened years ago. Well, what just happened, and I haven't been able to make a video since, I stood outside the yoga class after it was over. And one of my friends, who I give all this credit to for being this intuitive, loving, open-minded person, was talking about the Nick Sandman, the 15-year-old kid who got approached by the Indian activist. You probably know, but just drumming and beating a drum in his face, like face to face, so aggressively. And I get that not everybody can feel what I can feel. I could feel Nick Sandman. I knew what was going on there. And I could feel the Indian, Nathan. I didn't even want to remember his name, actually. I could feel him and how he was trying to intimidate, and how much hate there was. And okay, so other people could, but my friend, who I give all this credit to being intuitive and loving and open-minded, and I still love you if you happen to watch this video, she said, what did that kid expect wearing that hat? And I was like, what? Wait, what? And she said, what did he expect to get if he's wearing that hat? And I said, what if a girl gets raped for wearing a short skirt? If I said, what did she expect? She wore a short skirt. What did she expect was going to happen? Of course she's going to get raped. She deserved it. If I said that, that's appalling. Like, that's appalling. I would never think that a girl deserves to. And I said, if I said that, you would just be like, what are you talking about, Carla? I'm saying, it's a red hat. It's a red freaking hat, you know? And like, people are triggered by Make America Great Again, and people are triggered by USA. Like, then go to another country. If you don't like it, if you're triggered by your own country, if you're triggered by Make America Great Again. So this is what she said. My loving friend, my open-minded, I thought, and she is loving, she is open-minded, she is intuitive. And this person says, that hat means make America white again. So this intuitive person, this highly intuitive, loving, and good person, believed, I don't know if she does now, I broke down in tears. I was bawling that this person from this state thinks that this 15-year-old from Kentucky with, you know, black friends. This kid is 15 years old. He's 15. And he puts this red hat on. And this woman from a completely different state thinks she knows. This intuitive person thinks she knows why this 15-year-old from a totally different state put that hat on. And instead of using her intuition to tune in to why he put the hat on, she should be able to do that. She should be able to do that. These kids that are 15 years old, they aren't racists. Most of them are not racists. But if people keep banging this drum of racism, you're creating it. I know you think I'm crazy, but it's the law of attraction. Anyway, I broke down, bawling outside this yoga place. And I looked at my other friend and I said, how do you teach this? How do you teach this? So I'm here right now. And I'm reminding you of the elephant and the blind man parable. Okay? I'm reminding you of that first. If you want to know why people wear a red hat that says Make America Great Again, if you want to know, then listen to them. There are so many black patriots now, black conservative patriots. And when Kanye West tried to tell people what that hat did for him, what it made him feel like, what did he get? He got CNN reporters or journalists saying that's what happens when Negroes can't read and crap like that. That is all hate. And people are watching CNN. Some people are still watching CNN, thinking that it's a news source. And it's saying things like, when this black man put this red hat on and told you what it meant to him, they spew as news that's what happens when Negroes can't read, and also that his dead mother, is rolling over in her grave. I mean, and that's news now. Okay, fine. And my friend, that hat means Make America White Again. That's what she truly thought, because she would tell me. That's what this intuitive person has been programmed to think, that this red hat means Make America White Again. If you think that, you are experiencing hatred. If you want to keep experiencing hatred, then I have to bless and respect your free will choice to do that, and I have to forgive you as you're doing it. But I am finding it harder and harder to be around people, to be in big groups. I'll never go to a Roger Waters concert again. That'll never happen. If he invited me over to like the best dinner, he doesn't know me. I mean, I met him outside his hotel a long time ago, but if he invited me over tomorrow, I'd be like, no, thank you. I politely decline. I realize that you think it's great that you hate Trump. If you hate Trump, you think it's great, and you think you're righteous, and you think you're one of the good people, and you think that you're the ones that know, and you're believing what you're believing. But if you're not listening to the other people touching the other parts of the elephant, then you're not going to put the whole picture together. You're going to keep fighting about the tusk when other people are touching the skin and the ears and the tail and the feet and the belly and the genitals of the elephant. And you're going to be standing there fighting about the tusks and whatever's happening. If you can't feel it, if you can't feel something's happening, then I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I truly am sorry. But there's 1,000 to 2,000 sealed indictments in a normal year. And right now there's over 92,000. Right now, at this moment in time, there's over 92,000 sealed indictments. And if you were always comfortable with a Democratic Party and a Republican Party, and one gets in and the other one doesn't, and okay, but things seem to stay the same. If you're comfortable with that, okay. But unless you listen to the conspiracy theorists, and unless you listen to the people who left this country and moved to Mexico because of what they saw firsthand, unless you watch the policemen and, Puerto Rico sending their videos from their phone, and I saw a black guy from Charlottesville during the riots with his phone. People are at places. They're walking around with their phones. They're videotaping what they're seeing, and they're telling you, these people were bussed in. This is not real. This is not real. These people were bussed in. This black guy from Charlottesville goes, this ain't Charlottesville. This ain't Charlottesville. None of these people live here. They were dropped off at buses, given signs, and now he goes, watch. They're not. He walked right through them. One way, the other way, the other way. He talked for 45 minutes at least that I listened to. There are people making videos. There are people telling you what they're seeing on their part of the elephant. And if you want to keep letting yourself be programmed by CNN, then fine. And Rachel Maddow, if you still think these are news sources, then fine. That's fine. You can keep getting your news there, okay? But you have to take responsibility for your hatred at this point in time. Okay, something's happening that's bigger than CNN versus Fox. It's much bigger. And I started Renegade Yogi to help people just come to their center. Just don't back politicians. Just back your own peaceful, powerful soul. Just your own peaceful, powerful soul. And if you want to see a peaceful, loving world, then you have to visualize it. This is all true. I'm not manipulating anybody. This is all true. If you want to shrink the fight, you have to leave the fight. That's true. That is true. I used to fight the fighting. So for, a lot of my life, I considered myself an independent. I fought the fighting, but I didn't realize I was fighting the fighting until Easter of 2017. My uncle screamed in my face when I tried to quote Morgan Freeman. Morgan Freeman's a very powerful, empowered black actor, and I was trying to quote him. He said something really cool a long time ago, and just like Gandhi did, just like Martin Luther King did, Jr., and I know that the tapes about Martin Luther King Jr. are going to come out soon, and they're not flattering, and someone wrote a book about Mother Teresa that wasn't flattering. You know what I mean? And these are human beings, okay? And I'm not excusing what people do as human beings, but they're human beings. And, Trump said, when you're rich and powerful, women let you grab them by the pussy. When you're rich and powerful, women let you. That's a consensual statement. Women let you. That was what he was saying. That part was cut off. He also condemned, the racists in Charlottesville. And the media keeps taking the other half of what he said and saying it like that's all he said. And that's misleading. And anyone who wants to can find it, and anyone who wants to can read, I finally posted the executive order on Facebook from 12/21/17 because no one seems to know that we've been under state of emergency. Our country's been under state of emergency since December 21st, 2017. worldwide. Declared state of emergency, our country. But they're too busy fighting, and I fought the fighting, and I used to try and stop the fighting. And then I realized, if I try and stop the fighting, I'm still in the fight. I'm just holding the sides back. So I finally realized, well, this isn't where I want to be. So I just realized as an independent, I was fighting the left and the right. And I wanted them all to get along. Stop fighting, stop fighting, stop fighting. If I'm fighting the fighting, I'm in the fight. I'm using my energy to stop fighting. Don't fight, stop fighting. So I said, oh, this is a misuse of my energy. I'm not using my energy appropriately for what I want. So that's when I realized, and I could see that everything's a spectrum. It's just spectrums. Left, right, independent. It's still a spectrum. So I went above that spectrum. White, black, spectrum. You know, we are all humans. Hueman. We're all different colors. If we were all the same color, you would never find your friends in a crowd. So size, shape, color, gender, all of it. Okay? It's just a spectrum. And by seeing things as a spectrum, I was able to, you know, because I call this a meat suit. It's just a meat suit. Okay? I'll just rise above, and then not above condescendingly, but above, like, that doesn't matter. Okay? So when I take a spectrum and I rise above it, then I love everybody everywhere on the spectrum. I'm not fighting anybody. And when I don't use my energy to fight anyone on any spectrum, I have my own energy for empowerment, for peace, for love, and for raising my vibration. My individual vibration raises the collective vibration. This is very simple. I think it's very simple. I was the class clown, not the valedictorian. I said it in my drunken video. I'm totally sober right now, but it is super crazy early. Okay, so I stopped fighting the fighting, and I allow people to fight. So I've left the fight. That gives me all this freedom, because then I can bless, forgive, respect the free will choices of and love everyone on any spectrum that I leave. If I stay on the spectrum, I'm using my energy for that spectrum. Now, I like to use this. It's a very quick, easy example. There are black women that use the details of their meat suit to empower other black women. So it is their calling. It's their spirit, I feel, the ones that I've seen, that I've heard. And the same with, there's black conservative patriots. I feel that it is their calling to use the details of their meat suit. So it is important that they're black. And it is important that they are, wherever they are, landed on the spectrum, and that they share their part of the elephant, what they see. That's important. For me, luckily, luckily or unluckily, I don't know, I sort of feel like no one understands me to a certain degree. I feel like nobody understands. There are like 3 people in my group, and you are one. There's like 3 of you that really understand everything I say. And this is really for you, because I'm probably going to lose people. If people can be programmed that are red, if intuitive, loving, open-minded people can be programmed to believe that a red hat that says "Make America Great Again," worn by a 15-year-old who's going to private school with black kids can be programmed to believe that white kid at 15 believes, and he put on that hat because it means "Make America White Again." That's not what it means. That's not what it means to that kid. That's called importing motive. You're brainwashed. You're brainwashed to think that 15-year-old kid put that hat on for a reason. If you want to know why people put that hat on, ask them. Listen to them, please. Because you're programmed, and you're programmed to hate, and you're a good, loving person, and you're an open-minded, intuitive person. Probably most people are. And you're programmed to hate, and you're programmed to believe something that isn't true. And, my hope with Renegade Yogi was to gently wake people up to themselves and their own divinity, and to understand that, you know, my own peaceful, powerful soul, that's what I trust. That's what I trust. I trust my connection to divinity. That's what I trust. Everything else is the fifth agreement. Be skeptical, but learn to listen. And when you empower yourself, you can listen to other points of view. When you're empowered, you can listen and have conversations, but you have to listen to people. And if you're not listening, and if you think you already know, that's the most negative thought in the world. I already know that. I already know why he put that hat on. I already know. I already know. It's the same thing if you say, I already know why that 15-year-old put that red hat on. It's the same thing as saying, I already know why that girl put that short skirt on. I already know. What did she expect was going to happen? That's a horrible, horrible thing to say, okay? And other people are touching different parts of the elephant. And something bigger is happening. And if you've always been happy and you want to go back, it's ironic to me that the people who think that the red MAGA hat means make America white again, are the ones afraid to go back. And the people who think Trump said, I just grabbed women by that all the time, instead of saying, women let you. That was his thrill. His thrill was, you know, and I had someone scream in my face, how dare you defend him? Well, I was friends with a girl in college. Well, my roommate was. She slept with the entire UConn basketball team. She slept with the whole basketball team. And she was hilarious. And she said stuff that was way worse, that when you're rich and powerful, women let you, da, da, da. She actually, if you want to know, she raped a guy friend of mine. She wanted to date one of my friends, and he made it very clear he was not interested in her. Everybody knew, you know, so she made it clear she wanted to date him. He made it clear he didn't want to date her. He got drunk, passed out, and she had her way with him. And then when he told me, and I made fun of him, and I'm so sorry, you know. And he says, I could have AIDS right now. What if I have a baby? What if she gets pregnant and doesn't tell me? You know? So men do get raped. It's pointless to try and say who gets raped more. That's pointless, okay? No one should. No one should get raped. And if you count little boys in Pakistan, then, you know, the males are giving us a run for their money, okay? So no one should get raped. So it's pointless to say, oh, welcome to the club. And there are white kids getting beaten up now. There are people getting beaten up for wearing red MAGA hats. People are getting beaten up for their clothing choices, okay? And then the good-hearted people are saying, what do they expect? What do they expect? No. Wake up. That's hate. That's like when the civil rights movement was going on, and if a black kid used a white kid's drinking fountain and got beaten up, what did he expect? This is the same. Do you want it to stop or not? If you want hate to stop, if you want racism to stop, then you just have to say no. You have to take responsibility for the hate that you're putting in. You're putting hate in. There's people, if that red hat triggers you, then you need to work. There's work for you. And I used to think, okay, you can hate Trump. That's fine. I used to think that's fine. And then today, it's not fine. Because what happened with people hating Trump, they ended up being able to be programmed against Trump supporters. And they're going after Trump supporters. And then other good people are saying, well, it's fine. It's fine to punch a Nazi. You need to listen to those people. Listen. And so what I ended up doing was I used the fighting. I used the fighting to say, okay, and instead of trying to make a one-size-fits-all program for empowerment, I'm going to split people off. So I ended up just recently, I get I've gotten a bunch of Trump supporters as clients lately, just this year, all male Trump supporters. And people don't understand, like, liberal minds can't understand conservative minds. But the problem is they think they can. So they think, oh, they're just racist, selfish. I'm not even gonna keep going. But like that's, and I talked to these liberal guys, self-proclaimed liberal, so it's not me labeling someone, at a restaurant. Something guided me to this restaurant because I didn't need to go there, and I went and ended up talking to these people because I used to be a pilot, and this guy is liberal saying, well, conservative men are so angry, and I said, actually, you guys are the angry ones, you know, and so he again imported motive. He says conservatives think everything's fine. I said, that's not what they think. They don't think everything's fine. They just think, what can I do about it? You know, so they go about living their lives. So I ended up using the fight, and I created a little place for conservatives. So I'm just going to work with them separately. They can work with the Renegade Yogi too stuff, but I separated them out because what if you don't? I mean, I don't care because what's neat about conservative men, as far as I can see from working with them, is that there's no choice for them between victimhood and empowerment. Victimhood's not even on the table. They only choose empowerment is a foregone conclusion. So for these conservative men that I'm working with, empowerment is the only choice. It's the only one. It's the only choice on the table. As soon as I point out that's a victim story, oh, okay, thanks. It's gone. There's no choice. So I just keep going with the empowerment. I keep telling them, don't tell that story. Change the words. Okay? So I work with them like this. They're so fast. They're so easy to work with. So, you know, I'm using the fight now it's working better to split people into two groups and just work with the conservatives on their own because they think a totally different way. They're not hateful, horrible people. They just think differently. And they think, what can I do? Well, so, and empowerment's a foregone conclusion. And they're neat. They're really neat people. But if you're going to keep telling yourself that that red hat means something other than what it means to the person wearing it, and if you're going to keep watching CNN, you're going to keep getting triggered. You're going to keep getting triggered by that red hat because you're not listening to the person touching a different part of the elephant. So keep getting triggered if you want. You could keep this shared hatred for conservatives if you want. And you think you're, you know, the majority, but you're not. I can feel this, and there's something big happening right now. There's a revolution happening, and a lot of it's happening online. And if you're watching the mainstream media news, you're not seeing what I'm seeing and feeling. I could feel it. I could feel it before I could see it. I felt it in 2016 before the election. And I'm grateful. I have never been more grateful for my gifts. Holy crap. I see so many people trying to, like, you know, navigate in the dark here. And so that's another reason I did Renegade Yogi, because I think if you work on your sixth chakra, if you work on your brow and you work on your intuition, and you could feel what I feel, and you can see that that you're being programmed to hate, life gets easier, I'm telling you. If you can look at all the red hat wearing people and you could feel their hearts and sense them and know what they're feeling and know what they're thinking and know that they're also good people, they just think a little differently. And you know, too, there's a lot of people that, well, I'm not going to get into it. There's a lot of reasons people voted for Trump. That has nothing to do with skin color at all. Like, it has nothing to do with skin color or gender. If you listen to them, but if you don't want to listen to them, then just focus on your third eye. Just focus on your third eye. Okay. And as far as like, I just want to say one other thing. As far as like, so I used to think, well, if climate change wasn't real, why Why would they push it? So that question, that sincere question in my heart, brought me to a whole new place of research. And instead of, and so anyway, there's, just because people don't believe in climate change doesn't mean that they want to kill the earth. But if you think that those people are, what do they call them? Climate deniers, climate change deniers, and they don't care about the earth, that's not true. That's not true at all. There's other things at play here. There's other things at work, and it rocked me when I first found out what some of those policies are doing to the world, to the people of the world. And I of course I want to take care of the earth, but we need to change. We don't need to throw everything out and start all over. But the more people who trust in the love of other people, we can get through this so much easier. And if you have a operative third eye, and you work on your intuition and you meditate and you calm down, you calm your mind, you're going to have access to higher level thinking. You're going to be able to see and feel where people are coming from. It's going to change your life. It'll change your life. But instead, people keep like letting somebody tell them that a red hat means something it doesn't mean. And keep telling them that people who don't believe this version of science think this way. That's not true either. There's people who know things you don't know. I just blew up at my family member in Florida. That's when I made that drunken talk. I made a drunk video. It has more views than any of my other videos, maybe. And I was like, I think you take my silence, you take my silence for ignorance. And I just might know more than you. Oh, I'll tell you what that was about really fast. She is sure, she's absolutely sure that women 100 years ago, all women 100 years ago felt exactly the way that we do today about voting. So they all wanted the right to vote 100 years ago. Well, I channel people who've passed, people who lived 100 years ago. I channel those women. And it was a very, very, very different time then. My dog's barking, so I'm a little distracted, but I'll just tell this fast story because somebody else said, you should probably tell people that since you know. So women who lived 100 years ago, life was much harder. They had more children. And because these grandmothers and great-grandmothers come through my clients' healings to tell them things. And one of my clients has an issue with getting her sons off video games. And her great-great-grandmother came through and said, you are kind of asking them. Well, she said it like this. It's a little harsh, but she was a stronger person because it was a harder life back then. She goes, you're asking them to get off you're asking them. You're like begging your children to get off video games. She's like, no. She says, do you think my son wanted to go out and milk the cows at 5:30 in the morning in the freezing cold? No, but that was his job. We all pulled together. She said, you have to expect compliance. So her thing was, before you open your mouth about get off the video game, you need to get your mind straight. Expect compliance. It's time to get off the video game now. You say it one time, because she would say it more. And they knew that her great-grandmother was telling me, they know that you're going to beg them and try and talk them into getting off the video game. So they know they have like an extra 8 minutes of playing. Let me just finish. And you're going to keep asking, and you're going to end up begging and kind of groveling about get off the video game. So that was one thing she said. And she loved her life. She loved her, this old lady. Well, she's not old. She's just gone. She loved her life. She showed me her kitchen, and she loved the sound of the porch door would slam her kids, like the feet and the slamming. And she would yell at them, like not to slam the door, but then she'd always smile. So she was yelling at them, teaching them, trying to train them not to let the door slam. She was consistent about that because she didn't want them to do it at other people's houses, but she really enjoyed hearing that. She loved hearing their feet running outside, running through her house and outside. And then she'd say, hey, don't slam the door, But she always loved it, always loved it. It made her heart so happy. She enjoyed her life as a mother. And she told me, she says, that I could love it more. She says, you women today with your screens and watching videos, you're really missing out. You're really missing out on all the little things, the little sounds of the feet and the, watching your kids grow up and stuff. So, so now I'm ironically making a video to steal that joy from other people who are watching me instead of listening to their own children. But so my aunt wanted to fight with me about women 100 years ago. She's so sure that they all felt exactly like women today feel. But the truth is they respected each other. The husbands and the wives worked really hard together. And I always say, I bet there was 0 women on the wagon trains that say, no, honey, you hold the baby, I'll go fight the Indians. So people worked together. They pulled together. And what I tried to tell my aunt, it's 100 years ago, people paired up and they had a bunch of kids. And some places, like my mother growing up had an outhouse, so she didn't even have running water. So 100 years ago, was even further back. And I said, these women had some of them had like 10 kids, and the husbands would go down and vote, and the women probably would have voted the same way. So instead of counting twice the amount of votes, they just counted 1. And voting was if you owned property, voting was that, because if you owned property, if you paid taxes, those people were the ones that voted, because taxes are determined based, people pay taxes, and then the tax money is what's spent. So the people paying the taxes were the ones that had the vote, so they could say where they wanted their money spent. That was what it was about. That was the original thing for voting was, we're taking your money in the form of taxes, so now we want you to vote to tell us what to do with your money. That's what voting was. It wasn't just like, oh, you're in prison and you should be able to vote, or, you're a pedophile and now we're going to let you vote on issues of policy. yeah, that's a good thing, right? Yeah. Oh God, I saw something funny somewhere. Well, I'm not going to say that. Okay, so, voting was it was for people who paid taxes. That was what it was for. And the women, if they had to go down and vote too, they'd have to take all the, if they left the kids all alone to go vote, or they packed everybody up in a buggy to go down and vote, when women didn't have laundry machines and they didn't have dishwashers, so they had a lot of work to do. They had cloth diapers too. So, I just was trying to say to her, I don't think every woman 100 years ago wanted the right to vote. They just, as long as it was fair, they were fine, because they had so much work to do. They had so much work to do. It's the ones that I've spoken to, they're just amazing. They were so strong. These women were so strong. And if you could go back in time and say, do you want to vote? I think many of them, and I know you're going to hate me for this, but I was an airline pilot, so I'm an empowered female. Some of them at least would have said, I have too much work to do. Can you vote for me? Or whatever. I don't want to go pull the lever or fill in the little circle or however they voted. Put my rock in that bucket. I got to do laundry. I have to feed everybody, and I have to, clean everything. I have to wash out the cloth diapers. It's diaper night. So, they had a lot of work to do to keep their houses in order. And everybody pulled together. So my aunt wanted to fight with me over this. And I'm like, wow, we're really going to fight about women 100 years ago. That's really going to happen right here, you know, in Florida in a restaurant. So I'm seeing people putting their politics ahead of their families, ahead of their relationships. And that's your choice, you know, that's your choice, but it doesn't make me want to be around in that environment. So anyway, I just making this video now to say, you know, where are you programmed? It can't feel very good if you think every red MAGA hat means make America white again. If that's triggering you, then you should start listening. Listen to, you can go on YouTube. You can look up Black Conservative Patriot and all kinds of stuff. Brandon Tatum, he's a Black conservative. He's funny. He's, you know, easy to listen to. He makes short videos. You can listen to them. Listen to the people touching the other part of the elephant if you want, or just keep getting triggered. That's fine. But you're the ones causing hate. If you think that red hat means something that it doesn't, you're triggering yourself with your programming. You are programmed to believe something that's not true. And people who don't believe in climate change, everyone who doesn't believe in climate change does not want to see the earth die. Okay? You know, they've told us the earth was going to end. They told us, you know, England was never going to see another winter. And that's not true. So a lot of the things that they've said is just not true. The guy who started Greenpeace has a lot to say, you know, and the people, you know, if you want to hate climate change deniers, then why don't you listen to some of the people who tell you why they don't believe in it, or what green policies have done to farmers. People think it's a, you know, a play for control and tax revenue. And, you know, they have statistics and points on their side too. But, you know, just being skeptical, but learn to listen. But if you're programmed to hate, whoever you're hating, be honest with yourself about who you're hating. Be honest with yourself and then listen to them when you're ready. And by empowering yourself and by working on your intuition, you know, when you listen to them, you can actually hear. So I don't know if this is going to do any good, but I really love you all. And that's it. Okay, go let Dean out.